I think that some of the brands that come to us are first-time podcast advertisers that are very aligned with us, either through the content that we make or because they align with us from a political standpoint, because we're a political, we do political news and talk, right? And so from that perspective, having been on the agency side, I'm going to give a plug to the agency. We kind of operate as if we were an agency. So our job at Crooked, and I'm not sure how many other podcast networks do this, is the way we set up our team is to act as a de facto agency. Obviously, we love working with agencies because it makes our jobs a lot easier.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if we have to be the first foray for somebody to come in, we can sometimes offer things that, maybe an agency who is buying 500, 1,000 types of shows isn't going to have the nuance of knowing who the host is, knowing what they like. Like, we can provide them that information, and they do a really good job of asking that, and we try to give them as much as we possibly can. But when you're dealing with a lot of properties, you might not necessarily have the specificity. But I don't think that's an agency problem. I think that's more, if you're looking at a big network that's selling 1,000 shows, they're not gonna have those relationships. So if you come to me and you ask me, hey, does your host have a pet? I can tell you, Jon Favreau, Tommy, and Lovett, they each have golden doodles, and they're in the office running around, so I can provide a little bit of nuance.
Do they all actually have golden doodles?
They all have golden doodles. They have Pundit, Luca, and Leo, and they come around the office and they'll play, and that's a really good data point that I can tell someone.
Yeah.
But obviously, we do things outside of just podcasting.
Yeah.
I think that if you're looking at the industry as a whole, we have live events. We've got this thing called CrookedCon. We had 2,500 people. We're going to double it this year. You can sponsor these things so that you can get a little bit deeper into what our community is accessing. But, we do act as if we are an agency, and it's nice to have agencies acting on that behalf for brands, because it's just less work for our team, which is far smaller than some of the major networks that have hundreds of salespeople.
Sure.
I find it remarkable how hard it can be, how hard it is to spend money in podcasting. Like, the amount of times because we do a bit of media buying ourselves, not that much, just in service of our clients to grow their shows. So we help clients grow their shows, and sometimes we buy ads on other shows, right? Kind of makes sense. The amount of times we've sent out emails to people and tell them, we have a budget, we would like to buy ads to promote this one. And we hear nothing back. We're talking a serious percentage of people just never even respond.
Yep.
So having agencies, having people to help can really help. Of course, working with you is very easy. And, of course, Crooked is an amazing partner. But sometimes it's just a lot of work. There's a lot of back and forth, and the ad checks, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So it makes complete sense to sometimes use an agency.
Yeah, I think there's a lack of understanding of how much work there is and how much back and forth there can be, especially when you get into those larger kind of events and going a little bit beyond the podcast and working with the partners in, social or events or custom segments. That's a big lift. And it's not something you can turn around in 1 or 2 days. In a lot of cases, you go back and forth for weeks before you get something set up.
And Crooked is an example of a publisher that's very advanced. Often, if you're trying to buy ads on some publishers, they may not know how to set up a pixel or what a brand may be looking for on a buy or something. So that's where an agency can come in and be really helpful. If you'd like to hear the rest of this episode, please search Podcast Perspectives on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure to hit subscribe.